Hello and welcome back to Rephotography. So in my first video I explained what is rephotography and why you should do it. And I said I would go through all the steps needed to produce the end result. Well, I think the first step we should look at is what equipment do you actually need? And I said that the equipment was actually very limited, very simple. So in fact there's not much that you do need. We'll go through all the details of that. Another aspect, of course, is what level you wish to shoot at. Now, I've actually turned this from a hobby into a profession. So I like to use good equipment. I've invested in a good camera. I've got an extremely good lens. I'll share that with you. But if you're just starting and you just wish to share that with your friends, you can start very minimalistically. Maybe just your cell phone. Maybe you've already got a small pocket camera. You know, that will allow you to start the process. So let's start to look through the equipment now. And I guess the starting point is with that old image. Maybe you've got an old postcard, an old photograph. The first thing, of course, you need to do is to digitize it. And the best way to do that, of course, is to scan it. You can take a photograph of it, but honestly, I've not found to get the best results from that. So scan the image. The next piece of equipment, which I find absolutely essential, is when you're out in the field and you're looking to compare the past with the present. I have my tablet with all of those old images that I wish to complete. So having a tablet, being able to download the images is really an essential tool. I can't underestimate that. Trying to go out there in the field with a paper copy, it just doesn't work that well. When you have the tablet, you can zoom in and you can look at the windows, the doors, the roofs that are adjacent to the other buildings. So having that tablet on hand really is an essential tool. The next item, and I think it's something just about everybody has these days, of course, is the cell phone. And I use my cell phone as a GPS system. So when I go into a new town, I invariably will have 6, maybe 10 locations that I'm looking to shoot. And prior to going, and this again will be explained in the process, prior to going to the town, I'll have laid out the map of where I want to go. So having that GPS system available, allowing you to move from A to B is going to save you time. And if you're trying to do 6 to 10 images in a day, you really need to be looking at every opportunity to save time. Now that all-important tool, the camera itself. As I said earlier, you can start with your cell phone, or maybe you've got a small pocket camera shooting JPEGs. You can start there. But hopefully, as was the case for me, this turns from a hobby into something that you're passionate about and you want to improve your results. So the natural option is to shoot for a higher end system, a higher end kit. Doesn't mean an expensive camera. Maybe with your cell phone, maybe you've already got that capability. The thing you want to look at is shooting in RAW format. Now I'm going to go into more details on shooting in RAW when I go through the various steps to achieving the end result. With a high-end camera, you probably will have that RAW capability built in, and I always shoot in RAW. It allows you to achieve much better results on the present image. Now, when you do decide to invest in a high-end camera, my recommendation would be go for the camera and the lens that meets your budget, but emphasize the lens. So many occasions these days, I see a reasonable camera with a kit lens. The kit lens is invariably poor. I actually started and still using cameras that I bought off eBay, but I've invested in the lenses. If you look at what other photographers suggest, they'll always say invest in the glass, invest in the lens. You're going to see much better results there than by investing in a high-end camera and having a poor lens. As to what I use, what I shoot, I'm a Sony man. So I have two cameras that I use frequently. They're both old cameras, but they both produce very capable results. One is an A6000, which is a crop sensor, and I've got an A7R full frame camera. The lens costs more than either of those cameras. And the lens I'm using, it's the G Master 20 to 70 millimeters. I can't recommend this highly enough. It's made such a huge difference in the quality of my images, in terms of the detail, the sharpness, the color resolution. It really is an incredible lens. Sony, if you wish to sponsor me, just contact me. I'd love to talk to you. One of the questions you'll see frequently in photography discussions is the question on a prime lens or a zoom lens. I love both of them, but I have to say, to do rephotography, a zoom lens really is handy. One of the things you're not sure about is what camera was the original photographer using when he shot that old postcard or that old photograph. What lens, what's the equivalent today? And don't try to compensate with the lens for the positioning. When you're out in the field, your position is the most essential element to being able to align those images. Again, don't use the lens to determine where you have to be. With the zoom, I can get in the approximate position and then I can zoom in and out to make sure I capture the full picture as is shown in the old photograph. Now, I always try to include more in my picture than in the postcard. There's going to be parallax error. I don't have what's called a tilt shift lens, so I'm using a conventional zoom lens here. And so when you're in post-processing, you are going to need to compensate for the shift in the buildings. Again, we'll discuss that in more detail when I go through the various steps. One thing I'm not going to suggest is a tripod. Again, you're going to be shooting in daylight conditions. So that will allow you to have your aperture, your f-stop at such a setting that you can handheld comfortably. And when you're out in the field, again, getting the right position is essential. And what I do is when I'm in approximately the right position, I'll choose 7 or 8 locations and shoot from there. If I had a tripod with me, that would make life so much more complicated. So you can leave the tripod at home, you can leave it in the car. You don't need it. It's really going to hinder you. So you've been out in the field with your camera, with your tablet, not with your tripod, your cell phone. You've got all your images. Now it's time to go home, and this is where the fun starts, merging those two images together. So you have your images in your PC. As I mentioned in my first video, my approach is merging the two images together. But maybe, just for starting, you just want to show those two images side by side. Sure, go ahead. It's very simple to combine the two. But if you want to merge them, then you need to look at the software. I use the Adobe package. I have Lightroom and I have Photoshop. And really, I do consider these essential tools. When I'm merging the two images together, what I tend to look at is what really is noticeable in either image, the past and the present. In the past, it's going to be the people, it's going to be the vehicles, it's going to be the shops. In the present, well, really, I want to show that things haven't changed so much, but also I want to include the colors from the sky. And so this is where we bring the color into the image. And this, for me, is what helps to bring life back into the past, the people from the past. So you want to be looking at a software that allows you to mask the sections from one into the other. And this is where Photoshop is really an extremely capable tool. And it's a package that is continually updated. So I'm using new aspects of both Lightroom and Photoshop that weren't available 12, 18 months ago. Again, I'm going to go into the details of this when I go through my full step process. There are other tools that you could use. Now, I've not evaluated the full set of different tools. I would love to hear from you. If you've had good experiences with other tools, then please let me know in the comments below. So you've gone through your post-processing. Now, what do you do with your image? Is it purely for you to keep on your computer? Are you going to print it? Are you going to share it? One important point I have to make: if you intend to share it, then you need to think about the copyright that actually goes with the original image. And this is where the selection process of your images is so important. Again, I'm going to cover this in a future video. You need to recognize there are copyright rules that are covering that old image. Maybe they're still in force, maybe they're not. So if you found this beneficial, please like, subscribe. I'd love to hear from you. Where is it you're doing rephotography? Share with me where I can see examples of your work. I'd love to see them. In my next video, I intend to go through the full process steps needed to complete these merged rephotography images. Join me there.